Are we paying attention?
I'm paying attention.
I think we're live. It's been so long since we've done one of these, I think we forgot how.
I know, I feel a bit rusty. Hola, Unconventional. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hola. Let me pop this out so we can get
good idea.
A bigger view of this, since it's such a small. Is geared toward like teenagers,
Yes.
20-somethings who still have great eyesight.
Even with your big giant glasses, you can't see the questions, JP, in a
Yeah.
little teeny tiny box.
Yeah. We're going to keep this short. We're going to try and do more of these, but we got to keep them shorter. It hurts my back to sit in this position for an hour and a half like we normally do. So we're going to keep them a little bit shorter.
Yeah, JP's telling me that because I sometimes just get really excited and I just can't stop talking. So I will try to control myself. This time is all about you guys. We are here to answer your questions and just to see what's going on because we haven't connected with you in several months.
Yeah. So welcome. Bienvenidos.
Sí.
So I'm sure the first question we had posted on here was about the increase in insecurity or crime in Ecuador. So we might just get that out of the way up front. Crime has increased. It's really no different now than it was a year. It started about a year and a half ago, and it's kind of it's basically the same. I can't even say it's gotten worse. It's just a lot worse now than it was before the pandemic. So before the pandemic, the homicide rate in Ecuador was lower than the United States. It was like 5.5 out of 100,000 people, which was at the time lower than the US. Now it's the same as Mexico and Colombia. So the homicide rate now is like 25 out of 100,000 people. And a lot of that is, it's around the drugs and stuff. So it's gang members and are killing each other. And they're not targeting like expats or regular citizens as much, except for robberies. Robberies and theft is up as well, but they generally don't kill people. And again, we've had no mass shootings, not a single mass shooting in Ecuador's history. So that's one thing we don't have to worry about here.
Correct.
So far.
A lot of the violence is in the over by Esmeraldas and the border towns and parts of Guayaquil and some of the areas of the coast and Puerto Viejo is not widespread throughout the entire country. And petty theft has always been an issue here with people the pickpocketers targeting tourists mainly. So that's always something you have to be on the lookout for. But you just need to keep your guard up like you do anywhere you go. I was just reading this morning about all the crap going on in Chicago. But the news, they don't tell you exactly where it's happening either. So it didn't tell me where in Chicago this stuff was happening. And Chicago is a really big city, but it's a big city. So I know there's parts I need to avoid and that you need to be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah. So that's the thing when you see in the international news, it says Ecuador, like crime increase in Ecuador. They don't say Guayaquil, Ecuador. Or even the neighborhoods. They don't say like the port area of Guayaquil, or what's that, Duran, or Duran. So it makes you think like the whole country is on fire and it's a war zone. It's the same in the US when they say, oh, Chicago, the crime is bad in Chicago. What they mean is there's certain areas in Chicago where you have to be extra careful and probably not go out there at night. It's the same in Ecuador. The whole country is not on fire. It is really centered in specific areas in the major cities, especially Guayaquil, Puerto Viejo, and Esmeraldas.
Yeah, in places like Cuenca, we have so many friends that live there and have people who have just come back on their trips, and they tell us that and in Quito too, they said that they haven't had any issues and they have felt safe. So it's not like we're hearing this from other tourists that they're going and being targeted. Am I going to guarantee you that that's not going to happen? No, because it's happened to us.
Yeah, in Mexico.
Well, and in Ecuador.
Well, we did get pickpocketed.
Yes.
Yeah, on the bus.
Yeah. So, but both times, were we paying attention? No.
No, I know. That was it. Both times we got pickpocketed and robbed we were not paying attention in an area where we should have been.
Yes.
Is Selena safe? Yes, you just have to be careful everywhere. I mean, it's the same everywhere. The coastal region is not as safe as the mountain region right now. And Salinas and La Libertad have had some issues with the moto robberies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like we had in Mexico. So I guess it's all relative. It's hard to really quantify. It's like, okay, well, some areas at some times of the day are safer than others. I wouldn't go out at night and right now. And really, we were hesitant to go out at night before. When we lived in Cuenca, we would go out to eat it in the evening and walk home in the dark. But it wasn't that far and we knew the area and we didn't go out after everything was closed. We've heard from some people who went out bar hopping at night and walking home by themselves at 2 a.m. and got mugged. And that's going to happen. And that could happen in Chicago too, or Dallas,
Denver.
or Houston, Denver. I mean, that could happen anywhere.
Yeah.
So let's see. You left Manta. Yes, over a year ago. Tried Brazil or Venezuela? No. Venezuela, no. Brazil is on the list. We would love to visit Brazil.
Yes. Oh, I could start listing, but I'm not going
Don't
to.
do the list, Amelia.
Nancy asked if we can address getting sick from food issues. Luckily for us, we've had very little issue with that. JP thought he might have had a parasite and got checked, and he was parasite free.
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
But we have had this happen to some people, and they told us that they got sick from eating street food or food that was not washed thoroughly enough. So you do have to be careful.
Yeah. I had an intestinal bug when we went out to eat in Montanita on the coast, and I didn't realize the dish I ordered had raw vegetables in it, and I don't think they washed them well enough, and I had a little intestinal issue for about 3 days, and then it went away. But we really haven't had much of an issue here. In fact, I've had more issues in Mexico when we travel there than we have here, but maybe we're just used to it.
That's very possible. I think the key is just to be careful, drink lots of water, and be careful about eating street food, because a lot of that is just sitting out all day long.
Yeah.
It's just kind of gross.
So thank you for joining us, Sylvie. We have an Ecuadorian on.
Oh, hola.
Yeah, she feels safe in Quito.
Oh, thank you for reiterating that. It's nice to hear it from other people, not just from us.
Charlie, buying property here is nothing like the United States. So it's going to be an all cash deal if you're an expat. If you're not a citizen, you won't have credit here. They don't accept foreign credit scores. Like your US credit score is worthless here. We actually offer to show that for our rental as a, like justification, like why we deserve, because we had to go through a whole application process. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything here. So they didn't care that we have great credit in the United States. So it just doesn't work that way. It's all cash here.
Yeah, it's definitely makes you think twice before buying something, at least for me. Well, for both of us. We're a package deal.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you still talk with Ryan Kelly? Not Ryan and Kelly. Ryan Kelly.
We haven't in a while.
We haven't talked much, but we're still friends.
Yeah, we need to touch base with them, actually. Yeah, and we have friends that live in Manta, and they're happy in Manta. I mean, everybody's situation or your comfort level obviously is going to feel different. We're asked earlier if we still feel safe, and yes, we do. Mm-hmm. We still love Ecuador.
Our house is crazy expensive. I guess it's relatives. And we post our videos, our real estate tours, and half the audience says, oh my God, I can't believe how much house you can get for the money there. And the other half says, I could live cheaper, buy a cheaper house than that in North Carolina. So I guess it just really depends. We think they're coming from Denver. We think the houses are extremely affordable. They're like a third of the cost for what you would pay in Denver for something equivalent.
Absolutely.
And then from California, it's like 1/10 the cost. But if you're going to go to rural Kentucky, that's probably the same or maybe even more, depending on where you want to live. If you want to live in a golf course community here in Ecuador, it's going to be more than, a little farmstead in rural Kentucky.
But you guys, you are not going to have the property taxes. Everybody asks about property taxes. They're basically zero.
It's a non-issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the HOA fees are usually $1 to $1.50 per square meter. So not square foot per square meter. So that's like a square meter is like 1/10 of a square of a.
Oh gosh, don't ask me.
I don't remember.
No,
so if it's like 1,200 square feet, it's like 120 square meters. So that would be like $120 or $180 a month for the HOA. But the taxes are like $50 a year.
Yeah.
For like even a nice house. The taxes are really a non-factor, property taxes. So if we don't mention them in a video, just assume they're inconsequential.
Plus the utilities are so much cheaper here, especially if you're in the mountains, because then you don't have to deal with air conditioning, and probably you won't have heat. Like we have never had heat. We have little portable heaters. Yeah. They don't use a lot of electricity.
No, we don't use them very often. No. Once in a while, if it's really cold and we're watching television, we might turn on our portable heater, or just
grab a blanket.
Yeah.
And
How is Daisy doing?
Daisy is doing well. She is, poor little thing. She's having some allergies, but
yeah, we don't know. I adopted her 12 years ago and she had already had a litter of puppies. So we think she was like 3 at the time. So she's probably 15 now. So she's old. She's got arthritis like me, like her dad. Something.
Yes. Elaine, hola. She asked, can a single lady survive on $1,200 a month there? Yes, you definitely can, especially in some of the areas like Cotacachi where cost of living is less expensive, or in Loja. We have friends, we have a couple that lived here for $800 a month, and that was pretty tight for them, but they made it work. So $1,200 a month, you should be fine.
Yeah, especially for a single. In fact, we're getting ready to do a video for our members' choice video about what places you can live on less than $1,000 a month as a single, and Ecuador's on that list.
Yes, definitely. So you should be good.
I should mention that before we get too far in here, that on the crime stuff. So if you want to keep up to date on what's going on in Ecuador, I write a newsletter every week. And if there's anything significant in the news, I write about it in the newsletter. We get messages every day asking us about like the crime or things going on in Ecuador. And I write about it in the newsletter. So subscribe to that if you're not already. I just put the link in there. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything.
Oh, Sylvia, I'm just reading your note that you live in Valle de los Chillos. It is such a beautiful area.
That is so beautiful. We really enjoyed our time there.
We sure did. Charlie, yes. So we are saying that if they're asking for $180,000, that yes, that is in cash.
Yep.
So Ryan Kelly told us that a lot of people use their retirement funds. They cash out their 401ks or whatever. Mm-hmm. And use that when they're ready to retire and come and pay for that. Now, if you're looking at buying new construction, we've been told that sometimes you could do like 20% down and then pay the balance, but that's in like, you have to pay it off in like 2 years. It's just not, they just don't have the same type of financing options, unfortunately.
See, Paul asks, what's the nightlife like in Cuenca for music, international films, and art showings? International films?
They do have a film festival in Cuenca. Cuenca is the place to go for any sort of nightlife. There's a lot to do. There's a variety of music, art, definitely. There's quite a lot of art galleries. There's a lot of museums. You can go to the symphony, go dancing, salsa dancing, or just regular dancing. And I do know that they have other events there. I just saw something about a film festival, as a matter of fact. I don't know about international films specifically, but I'm sure you could find what you're looking for.
Yeah, a lot of art. There's a lot of art in Cuenca. Galleries.
A lot of art galleries, a wide museums. Variety.
Yeah.
Oh, and Eric asked which company we recommend for health insurance. We have ConfiaMed, and so far, knock on wood, so far so good. We've been pleased with. They've been really easy to work with.
Yeah, they paid their claims. We finally had claims last year with some of my health issues, and they paid their claims quickly, and it's great. I wrote up a whole blog post about our healthcare experience last fall. So check our website, emilianjp.com, for that.
Yes.
How does health insurance work in Ecuador with pre-existing conditions? Stable heart for 5 years. 2 stents. Are you the one that I recognize that comment? I think you posted that you had heart surgery in New Zealand after like after a bike ride, cycling. I sent you a link to an in-depth article about how health insurance works in Ecuador. So I'm not sure where I sent that, but I remember sending it. Basically, it works a lot better than it does if you're from the United States. Like turn the world upside down, and that's how it works here. It actually works like it's supposed to.
Well, but you didn't answer the question. So pre-existing conditions, typically with private health insurance, there's a 2-year waiting period. However, with the public health insurance, it's only a 3-month waiting period, and then your stuff is covered. Now, I have heard that there is a policy out there that shortens that pre-existing condition time. I imagine you have to pay more for that, but the bottom line is you have more options. Plus, everything is just so much more affordable here that, I mean, we've gone and done our checkups before we needed to go and file any claims, and it just wasn't worth us going through the hassle of filing the paperwork because the doctor visit was like $25.
Yeah.
So,
and our deductible is $100 a year. So we're just like, we never go to the doctor anyway. So we didn't even file a claim for the first 5 years we lived
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
But then I had to get a colonoscopy and an MRI and stuff. So that was worth filing the claims. And they paid quickly, like within a week.
Yeah. And we had Confiamed, and it was with the pre-existing condition of JP's spinal issues. So
Yeah.
we speak, you have first.
Well, but that wasn't why I had the MRI.
No, but you had to wait the 2 years regardless.
That's true.
So we passed the waiting period, and hopefully you won't have to find out what happens.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have any issues.
Let's see. How is inflation better than the US? Yes. It peaked at about 4%, and now I think it's dropped back down, hasn't it? Like 3.5%.
I haven't seen a report lately. I don't know.
So even before the pandemic, the inflation rate in Ecuador was about 0% for 4 years before the pandemic. So there was basically no inflation. It was a little above 0%. Then that's last year with inflation, it peaked out like 4.1% or something like that. So it was never as high as the US.
No.
We didn't really notice. Maybe some of the food items went up a bit, but we don't have a car, so we don't drive. We didn't notice the premium gas price increase. I mean, it's none of the things that we really spent money on. We didn't notice much of an increase.
No, we didn't. Our utilities were the same.
Yeah.
So
our rent didn't go up.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that was the nice thing, is that they didn't start rent gouging, which I heard was going on in the US.
Yeah.
Oh, the flooding in Ecuador. Yeah, there's been some bad flooding in areas, and poor Guayaquil is just getting hammered. And then that town, how do you pronounce that? Remember? That whole town just like slid down the mountain.
Oh,
Aloisi?
Aloisi.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Sorry for the Ecuadorian viewers of our horrible pronunciation of your Quechua town names.
Yes, because I'm pretty sure that was incorrect.
Yeah, I think it's like Aluwasi or something like that.
Aluwasi, yeah.
Yeah, so it was really bad. There were, I think, 60 people killed or something. I can't remember now.
Yes, so hopefully the rains will let up.
Yeah, it's been a lot of flooding. I see in the U.S. headlines, they're saying the El Nino they think is going to return this year. Well, here in Ecuador, they're already calling it El Nino because the waters off the coast of Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru are already hotter than they have been in the last 3 years. And we're already seeing the effects of that and with increased rainfall. And it's just, the flooding has been really bad. So even if they're not saying El Nino is back in the U.S., they are in Ecuador.
That is true. JP, George says he likes your glasses. I agree. And yes, we got them in Ecuador.
These are I see a lot of people, the younger people wearing these here in Ecuador. So I wanted to be stylish with the young crowd. Bayanita is really nice. It's a nice area. They have a Mi Comisariato and a big full one that's got like a Home Depot in it. And then it's close to La Libertad, where you have medical care and banking, and it's close to Salinas, where you have a lot of restaurants. We like Bayanita. We didn't
spend a lot of time there, though.
We drove through it several times, but we haven't actually stayed there.
And yes, BB, seniors over 70, you can get health insurance. It goes up with age, though, so it may be more expensive for you, but you definitely can get private health insurance, and you should be able to get on the public health insurance plan once you get your temporary residency and your cédula. And somebody had asked earlier if we had gotten our citizenship yet, and the answer is no. It takes several years to actually go through the entire process. So we won't be celebrating anytime soon.
Yeah, and I got to find out what they're doing with the taxes too, because it looks like some of the new tax laws, they might be taxing foreign income on citizens. So I don't really want to sign up for another citizenship and get taxed on our worldwide income like we already do with the United States. So we have to figure that out before we pull the trigger on the citizenship. But we have permanent visas, so that's good. As long as we are in the country one day every 2 years, then we maintain our permanent residency. So we're good on that. Used cars. Let's see, which one? Cars.
Yeah. Cost of a used car. Used cars actually maintain their value here quite well. Cars in general are more expensive than the United States across the board. I mean, a lot more expensive. However, I did just read that for a new car that the Korean import taxes are going to be whittling down to zero. Not that that is what you're asking about, but the bottom line is there's a huge range. But just know that you're going to pay more. They definitely hold their value.
Yeah.
And we do not own a home. We rent here, and we like to rent because we have lived all around Ecuador. Well, not all around, but we're working our way around Ecuador. So even if we had $200,000 to plunk down on a piece of property, we wouldn't, because we can't make up our minds.
Yeah.
Are you in agreement, JP?
Correct. And also, that's a lot of money for us to plop down. We just finally paid off all of our debt in December of 2020.
I know, now we want to hold on to it.
Well, now we're putting it in our retirement funds, so we can save for retirement. The equity market here is nothing like the US. It's not very liquid because they don't borrow a lot. Most of the real estate are cash deals. The interest rate on mortgages is like 15 to 20%. It may be higher now with the higher interest rates worldwide, but most people just pay cash. They use their homes as a savings account because they don't trust the banks. And so they don't sell unless they get a really good offer. And that means that it's not a liquid market. So you're not going to see like contingencies here. They just wouldn't do that. Like if you wanted to sell a house in order to buy one, it could take years to sell a house.
Yes.
Unless you really want to bottom dollar it and get rid of it quickly. But then, there goes your equity if you do that. So you need to plan on owning your home for 5 to 10 years in Ecuador in order to recover the cost of closing and commissions.
A lot of people like to buy a property and then they use it as a rental property until they're ready to move into their home and fully retire. That is very common here in Ecuador.
Yeah.
Our Sally Gomez asked if it's safe to travel to Quito. Do you mean within the country? It's certainly safe to fly into Quito, and you mean it like fly to Quito and then travel into El Centro? Yeah, that's safe.
Yeah, during the day. Would not go out at night down there. I would also recommend going with a guide. Be careful. Pickpocketing is really common in El Centro, in the historic district of Quito.
Yes.
There has been an increase in crime in parts of Quito, not really the tourist areas as much, but in some parts, you just got to be careful. It's like any big city anywhere. I saw another. Let's see. Yeah, give us a thumbs up, guys.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Whoever reminded, Iris, thanks for reminding. Can you get a visa to live in the country with bad credit? They do not check your credit score. Your credit score outside Ecuador is meaningless inside Ecuador. So it doesn't matter to them. You just have to meet all the other requirements for whatever visa type you're applying for.
And yeah, sweetheart, you're right. It is hassle-free living when you're renting. Although that is assuming you get a good landlord. But we've been really
very lucky.
Yes.
We've had really good landlords.
Yes.
When is the next live chat? Wow, we're not even done with this one yet. We're already waiting for the next one.
Well, I love your enthusiasm. I don't know. But if you're asking, I guess we're going to have to schedule another one.
Yeah. Is it safe to leave your passport in your Airbnb? We do. We usually put them in the safe. Most Airbnbs have safes.
Yeah, we haven't had an issue with that. We like to keep a picture of our passport and our cedulas, and I have a picture of my visa on my phone just in case, because I don't like to carry that stuff with me. I know that you're like, when we're in Mexico, I know we're supposed to carry that stuff with us. Well, I don't.
Yeah, we carry pictures on our phones.
Yes.
If we really need it.
Oh, good. Linda said she spent a vacation in El Centro in Quito and was careful and had zero problems, and we are so happy to hear that. Do you have access to U.S. news? Yes. Well, I just look on my computer.
Yeah.
But you can get DirecTV here, and you can get news.
Yeah, you can get the U.S. package.
Yeah, you can
on
get
DirecTV. Let's see. You have cedulas. Yes, we have cedulas. We got those right after we got our visas. See, on the extended tourist visa, can you leave the country?
Yes.
But the extended visa is only good for a fixed 90-day period. It's not like the regular tourist visa where you can kind of come and go for 90 days throughout the year, or from the time it's issued, I should say. With the extended visa, it's only good for, like, if it's issued on June 1st, it's only good for 90 days after that, and then it expires.
Oh, Jamie, I like your tip about hiding your documents in your big plastic freezer bag and duct tape them to. That's a good idea.
But now everybody knows.
I know, but then I just said it out loud. Forget I said anything.
Yeah, you did not.
We will delete this part of the live stream.
Yep.
But thank you for sharing.
We only have like 5 minutes left of our 30-minute live stream. So
really?
yeah,
Wow, this is flying by.
I know it goes really fast, and 90 minutes goes fast, but my back feels like we've been here 90 minutes already. Are there many dogs, as some say? Not as many as there were when we first moved here. There's been a lot of work to remove them from the streets.
It's weird because street dogs are a different thing here, because some of them do have homes, but their owners just let them out and they go walk themselves. It's hard to get used to that. Yeah. They know how to cross the street. I mean, they just do their thing. Obviously, that's not the case with all of them. There are homeless dogs, but JP, I agree with you. It definitely has gotten better.
Yeah. Nancy, we have I just published a whole blog post about how to mail things to Ecuador and get things delivered in Ecuador. It's one of our recent blogs. So just go to ameliaandjp.com and look for that. Oh, and by the way, we combined our brand. If you guys, I forgot to mention that in the beginning, but Live Abroad Now is no more. We decided that was ridiculous to have 2 different websites and 2 different YouTube channels that do basically the same thing. So we combined them both, and now they all live under the Amelia and JP brand. So just ameliaandjp.com is where everything is now.
Ira said 166 people have not liked the video.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think that's hilarious. Thank you for calling them out.
Yeah.
And being so specific.
And good job with the math.
I know. I'm impressed, because I would have looked at that and been like, oh.
I would have had to pull out my calculator.
I know. For that. And hey, Ambrose, congrats on your upcoming 1-year anniversary.
Our taxi's an affordable way to get around. Very. And so is Uber.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, they're super cheap here. Usually like $2. We go most places that we would take a taxi for like $2 or sometimes less. Rarely is it over $3.
Do many people ride scooters or motorcycles in Ecuador? So, yeah, they are really popular here. Nothing like what we saw in Medellin, though. Wow. There were so many people on motorcycles, but those scooters, especially the electric ones, are really popular because you don't even need to get a driver's license or a license plate for them here, which is really nice.
Somebody asked about our next house tour. We have one coming from Colombia. We did a real estate tour on our visit to Colombia. That will be coming out in a few weeks.
That was really fun.
I know, we really enjoyed that.
Yes.
That was a fun day we spent.
Yeah. I saw somebody said that they heard good things about that direct flight from Miami to Cuenca. So glad to hear that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So by the way, there's now Avianca just added direct flight from Quito to Cancun, which is awesome, because up until just, I guess, this last week or two, only Mexico flew direct, and you could only go to Mexico City. And it was at like 1:00 in the morning. So it's nice to have a couple other options.
Yep.
If you're thinking about going to Mexico.
Yeah, Azu Taxi, that I think only works in Cuenca. Azu stands for Azuay, the Azuay province where Cuenca is located. They might be in a couple other cities now. I can't remember, but and Uber is only in like 10 cities. It's in Guayaquil and Quito, but it's not like in Manta or Cuenca. So it's different. And then there's Cabify. So like there's some Cabifys available. It's like there's no standard in Ecuador. It's wherever you go, you're gonna have to figure out what system they use.
Yeah, and you're not expected to tip. We usually tip just like round up, basically. So you certainly can, but tipping is not expected in Ecuador.
No, usually like if it's $1.80, I round up to $2, and they act like I gave them the best Christmas present ever. They're so thankful because Ecuadorians don't tip. It's not a tipping culture. In fact, we went out to dinner with some of our friends, our Ecuadorian friends, and at the end of the dinner, we tipped, and they're like, "Why do you tip? You know that's included, right?" And like, I know, it's an American thing, and we feel guilty by not tipping. And they're like, well, we didn't want you guys to think we're cheap because we don't tip, but it's just not common to tip in Ecuador. So it really made us think that, here we are trying to make ourselves less uncomfortable or more comfortable by tipping and we're really making our friends uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
It was
good
very
information.
enlightening.
Yes, especially after as long as we've lived here.
Mhm.
I'm glad that they said something to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first time we came to Ecuador, we were just here as tourists and we were like, oh, 20%. And well, they were thrilled.
Yeah.
Of course, we wanted to put it on our credit card, not realizing that just wasn't a thing here either.
Yeah.
But that was like 7 years ago.
Yeah. Do we keep our retirement funds in the U.S. or Ecuador? All that's in the U.S. It
Yes.
wouldn't work in Ecuador. I mean, you got to have it in specific accounts like tax deferred accounts, the Roth and all that stuff. And you got to do that in the U.S.
Yes. And yes, you can work on, actually, I think you can work on all of the visas except for the volunteer visa because you have to be volunteering.
And I'm not sure about the student. No, you can work on the student visa.
I think so.
Yeah.
They're pretty lenient about that here. Oh, greetings.
The missionary, I think.
Is that?
Oh, that's a volunteer.
Volunteer, yes. Mariner here is from Greece. Oh,
awesome. That's Amelia's dream.
It is.
To visit Greece.
It is. I know I saw somebody asking about Brazil, and Brazil is not on the immediate list, but yes, we do want to go to Brazil, but I want to go to Greece a lot more.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, Brazilians out there.
We use Charles Schwab just because they refund the ATM fees, but there are other banks that do that now. Fidelity does, and I think there's another one.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other banks will do that, but you want to look for a bank account that refunds the ATM fees that are charged.
Spain would be fun. I agree, sweetheart. There's so many places in the world to go visit. I just get excited, but heck, I'm really excited just to go back to Colombia. I'd like to go to Bogota and coast, of course. There's so many places to go.
Yeah. Iris asks, are we concerned about the financial crisis in the U.S. since we reside in Ecuador? We try not to be concerned about things we have no control over. And that falls under that category. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it. We have our money in a reputable bank and hopefully they are being responsible with it.
Yep. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And we don't have enough to even exceed the what do you call it? The insurance, the FDIC insurance. It's not like those people that lost all that money with the Silicon Valley Bank because they had $4 billion in one bank.
Yeah, that's not us.
Not us.
Hey, John Turner. So nice to see you and your pair. I'm not actually seeing you, but I've seen your name. Yeah. Glad you could join us.
Thanks, John. Much appreciated.
Yes.
All right, we're going to wrap this up shortly. So any final questions? Give us a super chat. We would appreciate that. And then we're going to wrap it up so that I can stand up and walk around.
Scott, I am from the Chicagoland area. So I do have a little bit of my accent. The funny thing is I heard JP's Kansas twang coming out the other day.
That's because I was tired. Whenever I get tired, my Kansas twang really gets twangy. So Nancy, yes, we have. We actually just recently updated all of the content for both of our e-courses. Mm-hmm. I added a whole bunch of checklists to the online income e-course that will show you how to make money online. And also the Ecuador relocation e-course. I went through and updated all of the written content. We haven't re-recorded the videos yet.
No, there's a couple of videos we're going to update, but the written is.
Yeah, all the written content is recently updated. The checklist hasn't changed. But we also moved our entire Rolodex of service providers into that e-course. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the spammers found our referral program and we were just getting inundated with spam stuff. So we had to discontinue the referral program. So we moved all of that contact info into our e-course.
And John, you cannot import a motorized vehicle unless you are a returning Ecuadorian citizen. That is one of the downsides of Ecuador compared to other countries like Mexico.
Yep. Hola, Amelia y JP. Buenas tardes.
Hola, Henry.
When it shook in Ecuador, did you guys feel it a little bit of the quake? Yes. I felt it. Amelia didn't.
I didn't notice.
She wouldn't have noticed had I not pointed it out.
I know the curtains were swaying too consistently.
Yeah. Yeah, she thought it was like the wind coming in through the window. And I'm like, that's not the wind.
No, you're right. Yep. But we were not close to that, thankfully.
Yeah. If you sell everything and move, how do you keep a permanent address for banking and mail? We use travelingmailbox.com. We've had that for 7 years now. Yeah. and really like that. That's our virtual mailbox, but we also have a family member in the US that is kind of our physical address for voting and stuff. So
are you two retired? We are not.
No.
We are not on Social Security. We are still working and enjoying it.
I know people comment like, how do you get your Social Security? I'll let you know in like 19 years, because that's when I'm going to probably start taking it. 19 years.
But I'll tell you,
people think I'm on Social Security. Do I look that old? I don't.
Not with the new glasses.
I don't feel that old. These are supposed to take 10 years off. That's what that cute little Ecuadorian that sold them to me said.
So it should be, getting residency in Ecuador is pretty simple, regardless of your citizenship. There, I think they have a few countries that you have to jump through more hoops, but Puerto Rico, I don't believe, is one of those.
Yeah. Let's see, Mary, when you first offered the course, I paid for it. However, I never got anything. Can you help? You need to send us an email.
Yes.
Through our website or wherever. Like, if you should have received like a message.
Yeah.
But also, if you go to our website and click on the e-course, the courses, there's a login link at the top. If you click that, you can use the forgot password. So if you used your email address, you can just enter your email and reset your password that way.
Yes, but of course we are happy to help you.
Yeah, it may have gone into your spam folder. A lot of times that happens.
Yes.
So,
and yeah, Jeremy, $5,000 a month, you should be fine. Military retirees, absolutely. We know multiple people here that are former military, so that is not a problem. And somebody asked why we keep our location a secret, and that is because we had a stalker.
well, really more than one.
Yes.
We've had issues with people not respecting our boundaries. And we had a drone flying in our window in Manta. So
yeah,
since then we moved and said we weren't going to say where we live anymore. It's just not safe for us. It's just
no.
So we just don't put it out there anymore.
Yeah, that was quite disturbing. And we had a couple other incidences, and you got to put your guard up, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Henry, no, we have not tried food from El Salvador.
Pupusas?
Yeah.
Not sure what that is.
What is it? I got to look that up.
Born in San Francisco, but Mexican, Salvadoran, and Colombian. That's so cool.
That is very cool.
Multinational. I've never been to El Salvador. It's actually one of the safest countries in Latin America now. It took Ecuador's place. Ecuador used to be that, and now it's El Salvador.
Poor Ecuador. But we still feel safe, like we said earlier. And yes, you can live here on $2,000 a month. Somebody asked about $5,000 a month. Absolutely. We knew how we had friends here that lived on actually less than $500 a month. That was painful. I would not recommend doing that, but it is definitely possible. She rented a room from an Ecuadorian family, and she's paid $100 a month for that, and she made it work.
Yep. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. We're already 8 minutes over time.
Oh, wow. We were just chatting away. Well, we'll do this again. This was really fun. I'm so glad you all joined us.
Yeah, and somebody just asked about crime. We talked about that for like the first 5 minutes. So once we're done here, you can go back and watch the first 5 minutes and find about that. And also remember to sign up for our newsletter and check out our e-courses if you're thinking about relocating to Ecuador, or if you want to earn income online to fund your relocation, for those of you like us who are not retired yet. The pre-retired.
Yes. And Jeremy, congrats on the baby girl. And yes, you can get baby stuff here. No problem.
Yeah. And leave us a thumbs up before you go.
Yes, please.
All right, guys. Have a good evening.
Ciao.
Ciao.